So in 1980, I switched from rock and roll music to country music. I was married, I had a young daughter, my wife was a stay-at-home mom, I needed money, and back then in 1980, around here, this area, country music was paying the money. So I joined a country band. One of the very first gigs we had with that country band was opening for George Jones. I had no clue who George Jones was. The only thing I knew about country music, I'd learned from watching a few episodes of Hee Haw. But anyway, the next week we were opening for somebody named Gene Watson, okay, at Ponderosa Park, place in Ohio. Anyway, we're there, we're setting up, and I had a Mesa Boogie amp back then, and in 1980, Mesa Boogie amps weren't that common. In fact, I bought mine in the 70s when you called Randall himself, you told him what you wanted, you sent him $200 and he'd start building it. And then a couple weeks later, you sent him another $200 and he'd finish it. And then you sent him the balance, which in my case was $550, and he'd send you the amp. So they weren't common. Anyway, we're setting up on stage at Ponderosa Park, and I've got my Mesa Boogie amp, and here comes this guy, curious about the amplifier, and that happened all the time. Anytime I played around other guitar players, they always wanted to talk about this Mesa Boogie amp and check it out and so forth. So we're having a great conversation about amplifiers and guitars in general and so forth. So I asked him, do you work for Gene? The person we're opening for, and he kind of smiled and said yes. Anyway, eventually he left. We had had a great conversation, typical guitar nerd stuff. And as soon as he left, all the other guys from the band come running up to me. What did he say? What did he say? What did he say? And I said, well, we talked about guitars and amplifiers, what I liked about the amp, what I didn't like about it, and so forth. And then they told me, that was Gene Watson. And then I felt stupid, okay? And indeed, later when they took the stage, sure enough, that guy I'd been talking to was the main headliner. Great singer, Gene Watson. So I felt pretty stupid. So I guess what I'm saying is, know your facts before you go out on the gig, sort of thing. Anyway, that's the story for today. Later.
I still recall the morning that I met you, standing out in front of Wilson's Fire and Dine, staring through the window at the jewelry, hungry for the things you couldn't buy. Just like a fool, I thought that I could please you. I saw you had an eye for things that shine. I paid $7 sawmill for a bracelet just to satisfy your 14-karat mind. Laying by these railroad tracks in Denver with a hurting head and a half a pound of wine. Everything except my soul has been surrendered just to satisfy your 14-karat